All right, everybody. Good morning, or potentially good afternoon, depending on which part of the country you're in. I'm over on the West Coast, so 10 a.m. for me. Some of you guys have different times and want to welcome you. Coach Kevin here. And the first thing I want to go ahead and do is hop in and share my screen with you and share some things that will be relevant and helpful for us today and going forward. Hopefully this will pop up for us right here in just a moment. At least it should. There we go. All right. So what do we have right here? What we have is a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup. So we invite you to come join us in the Facebook group. Why would you want to do that? A couple different reasons. Reason number one, excuse me, it gives you a place to interact with us outside of the 45 minutes or so we have each Monday through Friday. Another reason is if we have any special announcements, that's where they will be posted. And then probably one of the more important ones, it is where we go ahead, as long as I remember to hit the record button, which I typically do. You will find the recordings of the meetings that we've had in the past. So what you can do is, if we're in the process of going over a topic or studying a particular piece of material that's relevant to what we're doing, I will also post those things into the group for you so that you can have access to those. So it's a way that you can get caught up if you're not with us at the moment. It could be also a way where if you attend a meeting and you're like, oh, that was great, then there's something I wanted to go over, but I forgot, or I want to hear it again, then you can go find that particular day. And once again, you can go ahead and look at and review it. Okay. The other thing is the name of it is exactly the same as the name as the meetup. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. All you need to do is type that into the search on Facebook. Or if you can remember and prefer, you can go to facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich. So those are the two ways you can come find us. Just type it in, or I want to be really rich. Do not apologize for it when you're in Facebook in the search bar, and you'll be able to find us. Okay. Next thing I want to share with you is what we are actually in the process of working on right now. We actually just barely started with this. And this particular material, let me tell you how I found what it's called, how I found it. So it's a book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. It was written by Joseph Murphy. It's a book that's been around for a while. Okay, so it's not new. I think it's a public domain work. Several people offer ways for you to get copies of it for free. I have the Kindle version, but not everybody has Kindle. Therefore, I went and searched one out, and I just typed in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind PDF, and I found this one. This one seems to be the best one. I don't know why this is the website that has it. Doesn't really matter. But if you will go to the website, so you type in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind PDF, what'll come up organically, I think the second one organically, so after the ads, will be The Power of Your Subconscious Mind right here. And look for www.logoscenter.org downloads The Power of Your. That's what I can see so far. I clicked it. I didn't have to put in a name, email, anything like that. And what popped up is the book in PDF form. So this is where we are right now. We're actually on page 10 of this PDF. It may not be page 10 of the book, but it's page 10 of the file. And we just got rolling with it yesterday. So this is our second day in this material. So why are we even talking about the subconscious mind? What does that have to do with law of attraction? What does that have to do with increasing our income and adding to our wealth? Well, by reading it, we'll get that explanation, but I'll tell you right now, the real power of it is how much your subconscious mind can be your greatest friend or your very worst enemy when it comes to setting goals to manifest something and actually manifesting it or not. Okay. I do want to share with anybody that is typing into chat, that's fine. I'm not paying attention to chat. There will come a time where we'll get to talk with each other. I like to save about 10, 15 minutes at the end of what we're doing to leave everything open for comments for you guys and to ask questions. So that 10 or 15 minutes would be the time. But if I keep paying attention to chat while I'm trying to go through this, we won't get through it. So I won't be paying attention to it. However, maybe somebody else will. But I don't hop into chat when we do these sessions. I actually talk to you guys when it's time for us to talk together. Okay. So to get started here, I'm going to hop in. I have read this book before. I've read it more than once, but it's been years ago. It left a strong impression. And when I was meditating yesterday about what it should be the next thing we go into, we've had some really good study over a lot of great material. But I just felt very strongly that we need to know how our mind actually works. Because again, our mind, if it's fighting against us, it's going to be our worst enemy. And if it's working with us, it's going to become our best friend, particularly when we're talking about the subconscious mind. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. You guys can go download a copy and follow along, or you could watch the screen and follow along that way. Okay. The duality of mind. You have only one mind, but that one mind possesses two distinct and characteristic functional parts. The frontier that separates the two is well known to students in the mind. The two functions of your mind are essentially different from each other. Each has its own separate and distinct attributes and powers. Many names have been used to distinguish the two functions of the mind. These include the objective and the subjective mind, the conscious and the subconscious mind, the waking and the sleeping mind, the surface and the deep self, the voluntary and the involuntary mind, the male and the female mind, and many others. All of these, whatever their implications, are recognitions of this essential duality. Throughout this book, I use the terms conscious and subconscious to represent the dual nature of your mind. If another set of terms comes more easily to you, by all means use it. The important starting point, and there's going to be some grammatical errors in this book. I've already found a few. It's okay. The important starting point is to recognize and acknowledge the double nature of the mind. The conscious and the subconscious mind. A wonderful way to begin getting to know the two functions of your mind is to think of it as a garden. You are the gardener. You are planting seeds of thought in your subconscious mind all day long. Much of the time, you're not even aware of doing so because the seeds are based on your habitual thinking. As you sow in your subconscious mind, so shall you reap in your body and environment. Imagine your subconscious mind is a bed of rich soil that will help all kinds of seeds to sprout and flourish, whether good or bad. If you sow thorns, will you get grapes? If you sow thistles, will you harvest figs? Every thought is a cause and every condition is an effect. This is the reason it is so essential that you take charge of your thoughts. In that way, you bring forth only desirable conditions. Begin now to sow thoughts of peace, happiness, right action, goodwill, and prosperity. Think quietly and with conviction on these qualities. Accept them fully in your conscious reasoning mind. Continue to plant these wonderful seeds of thought in the garden of your mind, and you will reap a glorious harvest. When your mind thinks correctly, when you understand the truth, when the thoughts deposited in your subconscious mind are constructive, harmonious, and peaceful, the magic working power of your subconscious will respond. It will bring about harmonious conditions, agreeable surroundings, and the best of everything. Once you begin to control your thought process, you can apply the powers of your subconscious to any problem or difficulty. You'll actually be consciously cooperating with the infinite power and omnipotent law that governs all things. Look around you. Wherever you live, whatever circle of society you are part of, you will notice that the vast majority of people live in the world without. Those who are more enlightened, however, are intensely involved with the world within. They realize, as you will too, that the world within creates the world without. Your thoughts, feelings, and visualized imagery are the organizing principles of your experience. The world within is the only creative power. Everything you find in your world of expression has been created by you in the inner world of your mind, whether consciously or unconsciously. Once you learn the truth about the interaction of your conscious and subconscious minds, you'll be able to transform your whole life. If you want to change external conditions, you must change the cause. Most people try changing the external conditions. You must change the cause. Hold on. If you want. There we go. Sorry about that. Most people try to change conditions and circumstances by working on those conditions and circumstances. This is a terrible waste of time and effort. They fail to see that their conditions flow from a cause. To remove discord, confusion, lack, and limitation from your life, you must remove the cause. That cause is the way you use your conscious mind, the thoughts and images you encourage in it. Change the cause and you change the effect. It's just that simple. We live in an unfathomable sea of infinite riches. Your subconscious is very sensitive to your conscious thoughts. Those conscious thoughts form the matrix through which the infinite intelligence, wisdom, vital forces, and energies of your subconscious flow. Shape that matrix in a more positive direction, and you direct those infinite energies to your greater benefit. Each chapter of this book gives concrete, specific illustrations of how to apply the laws of the mind. Once you learn to use these techniques, you will experience abundance instead of poverty, wisdom instead of superstition and ignorance, peace instead of inner strife, success instead of failure, joy instead of sadness, light instead of darkness, harmony instead of discord, faith and confidence instead of fear. Could there be any more wonderful set of blessings than these? Most of the great scientists, artists, poets, singers, writers, and inventors have had deep understanding of the workings of the conscious and subconscious minds. It was this that gave them the power to accomplish their goals. Once Enrico Caruso, the great operatic tenor, was struck with stage fright. Spasms caused by intense fear constricted the muscles of his throat. His vocal cords felt paralyzed, useless. He stood backstage already in costume, while perspiration poured down his face. In just moments, he was supposed to go out on the stage and sing before an eager audience of thousands. Trembling, he said, "I can't sing. They will laugh at me. My career is finished." He turned to go back to his dressing room. Then suddenly he stopped and shouted, "The little me is trying to strangle the big me within." He turned toward the stage again and stood taller. "Get out of here," he commanded, addressing the little me. "The big me wants to sing through me." By the big me, Caruso meant the limitless power and wisdom of his subconscious mind. He began to shout, "Get out, get out. The big me is going to sing." His subconscious mind responded by releasing the vital forces within him. When the call came, he walked out on stage and sang gloriously and majestically. The audience was enthralled. From what you've already learned, you can see that Caruso understood the two levels of mind, the conscious or rational, and the subconscious or irrational level. Your subconscious mind is reactive. It responds to the nature of your thoughts. When your conscious mind, Caruso's little me, is full of fear, worry, and anxiety, the negative emotions these create in your subconscious mind, the big me, are released. They flood the conscious mind with a sense of panic, foreboding, and despair. When this happens, you can follow the example of the great Caruso. You can speak affirmatively and with a deep sense of authority to the irrational emotions generated in your deeper mind. You can say, "Be still, be quiet. I am in control. You must obey me. You are subject to my command. You cannot intrude where you do not belong." You'll be fascinated to see what happens when you speak authoritatively and with conviction to the irrational movement of your deeper self. Your mind will be flooded with harmony and with peace. The subconscious is subject to the conscious mind. That's why it is called the subconscious or subjective mind. Outstanding differences and modes of operation. The conscious mind is like the navigator or captain at the bridge of a ship. He directs the ship. He sends orders to men and women in the engine room. They in turn control the boilers, instruments, gauges, and so on. The people in the engine room do not know where they are going. They follow orders. They would go on the rocks if the man on the bridge issued faulty or wrong instructions based on his findings with the compass, sextant, and other instruments. The people in the engine room obey him because he is in charge, because he is supposed to know what he is doing. The members of the crew do not talk back to the captain, they simply carry out his orders. The captain is the master of his ship, and his decrees are carried out. In the same way, your conscious mind is the captain and the master of your ship, your body, your environment, and all your affairs. Your subconscious mind takes the orders you give it based upon what your conscious mind believes and accepts as true. Let me repeat that. Your subconscious mind takes the orders you give it, probably didn't even know you were giving it orders, but this is how it does it, based upon what your conscious mind believes and accepts as true. It does not question the orders or the basis on which they're given. If you repeatedly say to yourself, I can't afford it, your subconscious mind takes you at your word. It sees to it that you will not be in a position to buy what you want. As long as you go on saying, I can't afford that car, that vacation, that home, you can be sure that your subconscious mind will follow your orders. You will go through life experiencing the lack of all these things, and you will believe that circumstances made it so. It will not occur to you that you have created those circumstances yourself by your own negative denying thoughts. Last Christmas Eve, a young woman named Nina W., who is a student at the University of Southern California, scrolled through an exclusive shopping area in Beverly Hills. Her mind was filled with anticipation. She was about to spend the holidays with her family in Buffalo, New York. As Nina passed a shop window, a beautiful Spanish leather shoulder bag caught her eye. She looked at it yearningly. Then she noticed the price tag and gasped. She was about to say to herself, I could never afford such an expensive bag. Then she remembered something she had heard me say at one of my lectures. Never finish a negative statement. Reverse it immediately, and wonders will happen in your life. Those of you that are on the Zoom call, you might want to write that one down and remember it. If you got something to write with, I would write it down. Never finish a negative statement. Reverse it immediately, and wonders will happen in your life. Read it one more time. Never finish a negative statement. Reverse it immediately, and wonders will happen in your life. Staring through the glass, she said, that bag is mine. It is for sale. I accept it mentally, and my subconscious sees to it that I receive it. Later that day, Nina met her fiance for a send-off dinner. He arrived with an elegantly wrapped gift under his arm. Holding her breath, she unwrapped it. There was the identical leather shoulder bag she had looked at and identified as her own that same morning. She had filled her mind with the thought of expectancy. She had turned the matter over to her deeper mind, which has the power to accomplishment. Later, Nina told me, I didn't have the money to buy that bag, yet now it's mine. I've learned where to find money and all the things I need, and that is in the treasure house of the eternity within me. How her subconscious mind responded. A few months ago, I received a letter from a woman named Ruth A., who had attended my lectures. She wrote, I am 75 years old, a widow with a grown family. I was living alone on a small pension and Social Security. My life seemed barren, hopeless. Then I remembered your lecture about the powers of the subconscious mind. You said that the ideas could be conveyed to the subconscious mind by repetition, faith, and expectancy. Could it be true? I decided to try. I had nothing to lose. I began to repeat frequently with all the feeling I could muster, I am wanted. I am loved. I am happily married to a kind, loving, and spiritual minded man. I am secure and fulfilled. I kept on doing this many times a day for about 2 weeks. One day at the corner drugstore, I was introduced to a retired pharmacist. I found him to be kind, understanding, and very religious. He was a perfect answer to my prayer. Within a week, he proposed to me. Now we are on our honeymoon in Europe. I know that the intelligence within my subconscious mind brought both of us together in divine order. Ruth discovered that the treasure house was within her. Her prayer was felt as true in her heart, and her affirmation sank down by osmosis into her subconscious mind, which is the creative medium. The moment she succeeded in bringing about a subjective embodiment, her subconscious mind brought about the answer through the law of attraction. Her deeper mind, full of wisdom and intelligence, brought her and her new husband together in divine order. Be sure that you think on this. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. That's Philippians 4:8. Ideas worth remembering. The treasure house is within you. Look within for the answer to your heart's desire. The great secret possessed by the great men of all ages was their ability to contact and release the powers of their subconscious mind. You can do the same. The subconscious has the answer to all problems. If you suggest to your subconscious prior to sleep, I want to get up at 6 a.m., it will awaken you at that exact time. Your subconscious mind is the builder of your body and can heal you. Lull yourself to sleep every night with the idea of perfect health, and your subconscious, being your faithful servant, will obey you. Every thought is a cause, and every condition is an effect. If you want to write a book, write a wonderful play, give a better talk to your audience, convey the idea lovingly and feelingly to your subconscious mind, and it will respond accordingly. You are like a captain navigating a ship. He or she must give the right orders or the ship is wrecked. In the same way, you must give the right orders, thoughts, and images to your subconscious mind, which controls and governs all your experiences. Never use such expressions as, I can't afford it, or I can't do this. Your subconscious mind takes you at your word. It sees to it that you do not have the money or the ability to do what you want to do. Affirm, I can do all things through the power of my subconscious mind. The law of life is the law of belief. A belief is a thought in your mind. Do not believe in things that will harm or hurt you. Let me repeat this. Everybody's been asking questions, particularly pandemic and stuff. Do not believe in things that will harm or hurt you. Believe in the power of your subconscious to heal, inspire, strengthen, and prosper you. According to your belief, it is done unto you. Change your thoughts, and you change your destiny. How your mind works. Your mind is your most precious possession. It is always with you, but its most amazing powers will be yours only when you've learned how to use it. As we've seen, there are two levels to your mind, the conscious or rational level, and the subconscious or irrational level. You think with your conscious mind, and whatever you habitually think sinks down into your subconscious mind, which then creates according to the nature of your thoughts. Your subconscious mind is the seat of your emotions. It is the creative mind. If you think good, good will follow. If you think evil, evil will follow. This is the way your mind works. The most important point to remember is this. Once the subconscious mind accepts an idea, it begins to execute it. It is an astonishing and subtle truth that the law of the subconscious mind works for good and bad ideas alike. This law, when applied in a negative way, is the cause of failure, frustration, and unhappiness. When your habitual thinking is harmonious and constructive, however, you experience perfect health, success, and prosperity. Peace of mind and a healthy body are inevitable once you begin to think and feel in the right way. Whatever you claim mentally and feel as true, your subconscious mind will accept and bring forth into your experience. All you have to do is get your subconscious mind to accept your idea. Once that happens, the law of your subconscious mind will bring forth the health, peace, and prosperity you desire. You give the command or decree, and your subconscious will faithfully reproduce the idea impressed upon it. The law of your mind is this: the reaction or response you get from your subconscious mind will be determined by the nature of the thought or idea you hold in your conscious mind. Psychologists and psychiatrists point out that when thoughts are conveyed to your subconscious mind, impressions are made in the brain cells. As soon as your subconscious accepts any idea, it proceeds to put it into effect immediately. Working by association of ideas, it uses every bit of knowledge that you have gathered in your lifetime to bring about its purpose. It draws on the infinite power, energy, and wisdom within you. It lines up all the laws of nature to get its way. Sometimes it seems to bring about an immediate solution to your difficulties, but at other times it may take days, weeks, or longer. Its ways are past finding out. The difference between the conscious and subconscious. I think instead of going into that for now, this is a good time to switch over and go into our opportunity to share thoughts and feelings and ask questions and whatnot. So glad for those of you that came and joined us a little bit later. Glad to see you here and have you here with us today. So this is your opportunity to share any comments you have, any ahas maybe that have come to you, maybe something that you learned through what we were reading and studying right now. It's also an opportunity, if you had successes yourself, intentionally utilizing the law of attraction to manifest more money or wealth in your life, feel free to share those experiences. And then it is also an opportunity to ask questions, once again, about the material that we're going through right now, or because it's the same thing, how we can manifest more money and wealth in our life. So if you have any comments or if you have any questions, what you do is you just go ahead and come off of mute and start asking. If two of you ask at the same time, we'll try to figure out who is talking first, and then you can go, and then the next person can go. But now is your time, so go for it.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
So my biggest haha today, I don't know about everybody else, but it's like, wow, my conscious mind can give orders to my subconscious mind. I never realized that. That is a big aha. That's huge. So
yeah, it is. You were sharing more. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that
Okay.
it really opens up a lot. I think negative thoughts. So how do you get rid of negative thoughts when they come to you? You just say, I have this saying that this, or negative energy. I just have this saying that this negative thought or is not mine, and I'm sending it away. In negative energy from somebody else or something happening, I go, this is not my energy, and I'm sending it back to where it belongs because it does not belong to me. Do you have any other suggestions that would help in that regard?
Well, that sentence that we gave, right? It's essentially never finish a negative sentence in the first place. And that, yes, out loud, obviously, but as we catch it in our mind, stop it and don't finish it, right? Uh, Take it and flip it around. Call it, I refer, well, Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks refers to it as pivoting, okay? Which is essentially if you know there's something you don't want, then what you do want is actually the opposite of what you don't want. And so it gives you clarity instead of, a lot of people, when you ask them, so what do you want in life? They give you this list of, I don't want, I don't want, I don't want it. It's like, that's not my question. Okay. But if that's the way that people are stuck, then okay, fine. Write it out one time. Don't keep doing it. Write out that list. It's not going to be helpful in the sense of attracting something, but write your list out one time of what it is, all the things you don't want. Just don't play this game very often. Okay. Do it one time. And then leave yourself room on another sheet of paper, either another sheet of paper or leave the paper like halfway written on. And then take what it is you didn't want and say, this is what I do want. And then just list out the opposite of it. And then cut it down and go burn the other side and keep the side that you came up with of what you do want. Because that's exactly what you want, is the opposite of what you don't. You're better off thinking in terms of what you want, right? But that's a little exercise that you can go do to help yourself that way. One of the things that I caught is I've been studying this too, going back to Power of the Subconscious Mind and what Enrico Caruso did, right, to overcome his stage fright at that moment. I thought to myself, I've been watching on Netflix one of the Star Trek series a little bit lately. And what I've seen is when people have come up against something difficult, I've watched, funny enough, like the captain or whoever actually yelling at his crewman, right, or his officer, but he's yelling at them not because he's mad. He's yelling at them like, stay with us, you're going to live. Or he's yelling at them, you're going to do it. He's essentially overcoming in because they're like frozen with fear. They're afraid they're going to die. They're afraid that they're going to be captured. They're afraid they can't accomplish their mission, whatever it is. And he's sitting there telling them and basically screaming into their subconscious. And because it's so strong in emotion, they're like, okay, I'll do it. So whatever it was that they weren't going to go do, they end up doing it. It ultimately works out, right? Yeah, I know that's a TV show, but, and I have not personally been in the military. I have family members who have, but I imagine, if you're in a war situation and you're trying to save yourself or whatever, but you're frozen with fear, if the sergeant or whoever you look up to is yelling at you in belief in you instead of in disbelief that you can do this, it can actually possibly override that subconscious fear at the time where that person can't give their own affirmation. So it does show us that, yeah, you know what? We can go through a strong emotional experience like that to get ourselves to do what it is we need to do. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to talk to more, I'm kidding around a little bit. I'm like, when somebody says, hey, Kevin, I want you to coach me one-on-one, say, okay, great. And then I say, okay, well, there's a cost to it and everything else. And I tell them that when they're like, oh, I don't have the money right now. It's like, maybe now I should start yelling at them. I'm kind of kidding, but what I'm getting at is, yeah, you do. God wouldn't have actually asked you to reach out to me to help you if he wasn't going to provide you a way to do it. But you shut yourself down because you're like, oh, that seems like, for whoever, it may seem like a little or a lot, everybody's different. Ultimately, though, what God is trying to do is get you some help, right? And he knows that I could possibly do that for you. So I'm just sharing that because this is bringing things to me too, going, yeah, you know what? There have been times where I've needed to, or I probably should more frequently, when I bump up against something, have that kind of conversation with myself and get through that thing at that moment. Because everybody's going to bump up against this thing that Bob Proctor likes to refer to as the terror barrier when we go to do something different than what we've done before. So we decide, I want this thing. I want to be, do, or have something. So now it's on our list of what we want to be, do, or have. And we've been sitting there visualizing and doing the good things that we're supposed to do. And we've gotten that permission, so to speak. We felt good about it in the sense of, we feel like God said, yeah, it's cool. You can have it. I'll help you with it. And then you have to go take some form of action because now you're inspired to do something. And maybe that action is something you've never done before, or it's outside of your comfort zone. But just on the other side of that is your freedom. And just on the other side of that is you get what you want. You might need to give yourself a good talking to at a conscious level to your subconscious mind to get through that terror barrier. And Bob doesn't talk about that very much, but reading this particular thing we read today, is very much a good idea of how to get through it. You may have to yell and scream at yourself for a while, because emotionally there's only two ways to imprint on your subconscious mind: repetition and emotion. And the stronger the emotion, the easier it is. That's why we got most of the bad programming we have. A ton of it's been through repetition, but the most paralyzing program we typically already have in our subconscious mind was we had some experience in our life that was traumatic. It was highly charged in an emotional way, and it was so traumatic, it just bam, right into subconscious. And then we've repetitively lived it over because we've thought about it over again. Every time we think about something that we've done in the past and repeat it and tell the story to somebody else, we are actually living it again as far as the subconscious is concerned. That's why you don't want to tell everybody on the planet about your ailments, about your woes, okay? Because you emotionally imprint it again on your subconscious mind every time you do that. And people just don't understand that that's what's going on. Yeah.
And you attract it again at that time?
Right. Well, you may, or you just reinforce the thought about yourself. If you feel I'm unworthy of something, or I'm not capable of something, or I can't come up with the money to do something. But also, like, it's okay to share when we're sharing a story. Like I heard, actually, it wasn't on this call. It was on a coaching call I had the other night with a group coaching, and two people had car accidents that week. And they were so excited to talk about them. I'm like, no, how did you fix it? And what ultimately they learned lessons. What they basically both learned throughout the week was everything they weren't supposed to be doing was everything they were doing that week. So it's, okay, so now that you've learned that, what's your plan? What's your plan? Because you may not know it for sure, but you had something to do with that happening in your life.
So when somebody's talking, I have a friend and everything bad happens to her all the time.
Yeah.
So when we catch up with each other, she has all these bad news to tell me. and it's her health. I mean, she's very wealthy. It's not about wealth. It's about her health and her mother and her son and so on and so forth. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
That is negative. So now when she calls me and we catch up, I just listen. I don't say a word. I just go, yep. And I'm trying to protect myself at that time and say, okay, this is all her. It's not me. I'm just being a friend and listening, but it's not going through me.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this yesterday, kind of like, if somebody's going to throw mud on you, are you going to just sit there and let it happen? Or if mud's been thrown on you, how long are you going to wait before you take a shower, change your clothes and take a shower, right? So when I go into situations where I feel it's necessary to be around someone for a given period of time, then I plan ahead. I plan before to put good stuff in, and I plan immediately what I'm going to do right after to put good stuff in. But what you don't want to do, is make it such a habit that you don't go forward, because all you're trying to do is overcome what they did, right? Versus go backwards. So here's the interesting thing you said. She's wealthy, but she's got these other things. Everybody really kind of needs to hear that, because that is her programming. Her programming is fine around money. That's why she has it. Her programming around the other stuff, not so much. That's why those things are happening. So any of us understand that money won't necessarily solve another problem if our programming is in opposition to what we really want. But also, if our programming is in opposition to receiving money and wealth in our life, then we need to put in new programming. And ultimately, the subconscious mind, what's really cool about it, besides how it'll respond and help you, is it also puts it on autopilot for us. That's what God gave us the subconscious mind for in the first place, was so that we don't have to remember. We learn how to tie our shoes when we're a kid, and we still know how to tie our shoes as an adult. right? We learn things like the times tables. Francine, what's 3 times 9?
At 27,
4 times 6,
24,
2 times 1.
2.
Right. You didn't grab a calculator. I'm not sure what went on in the mind exactly, but it was probably, to me, it sounded pretty instantaneous. Plus, there's probably a little lag between when I say something and you hear it. So you responded back very quickly. Have you been studying the times tables lately?
No.
No, you haven't, right? Of course not. You learned that probably elementary school or junior high. I forget what age we learned that, but you learned that at least a few weeks ago, and you still remember it, right? That's what the subconscious mind does. That was the repetitiveness. That's the ABCs. That's tying our shoe. That's driving a car. That's eating with a fork, knife, and spoon. Hopefully most of us use those, okay? But if we don't, that's fine, as long as food gets in there. But the point of it is that's the benefit of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind was designed to help us master something.
Evan, you froze.
I froze. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Now.
me?
We lost you at fork, knife, and spoon.
Okay. Could be. Yeah, I just had a little thing pop up, said my internet connection's unstable. Sorry. Anyhow, so getting back to the point that the subconscious mind, God, it's a blessing given to us in the way we were created so that we could master things and not have to think about them, so that our life can work on autopilot, which, by the way, 95% or so of what goes on today will be a result of programming. It's going to be autopilot. You didn't probably think really hard about brushing your teeth. You probably did, and I don't know what time it is where you're at, so you're at different times throughout the country, right? But whatever it is that you normally do, most of it you didn't think about it. It just happens every day, right? Unfortunately, all those things that come into us that are in opposition to what we really want in our life, those are on autopilot also. The only way that we know that we don't, that something is on autopilot for us is we just look at our results. If we have results in our life that aren't what we want, there is a program in there that gave us that result. So if we want something different than what we currently have, we just have to change that program. And when you learn the process for doing that, then what happens is now your subconscious mind communicates with energy and matter, the universe, and it communicates with God, and it all gets worked out for us. And that's why we don't have to go work very hard once we're programmed correctly. And when we're trying to work hard, that means we are programmed incorrectly. If something is really hard to do, then one of two things: your programming is in opposition, or you haven't mastered it and made it subconscious yet. It's kind of as simple as that. All right, thank you, Francine, for the question. Any additional questions or comments?
Hey, Kevin. It's Landon.
Hi, Landon.
Hey, you kind of went over everything I was going to ask, but I guess yesterday I started having some doubts about the whole process. And, I think it was because I've been going pretty strong for like 2 weeks and, keeping my faith and everything and, visualizing on the right path. And then I think my subconscious was finally starting to believe it, and then it started like fighting it. And so, would you recommend maybe doing some meditating or just kind of self-talk to help change that subconscious like you were talking about? Or what are your like go-tos whenever you start having those?
Well, first of all, congratulations, because you've succeeded in getting a new idea into your subconscious. So now you just got them both running at the same time. And so you're going to have discord and discomfort. Okay. Mm-hmm. What most people do is they back off at that point. Keep doing what got you there, number one. The other thing I would say, and I don't know if you have or haven't, but this is a question for everybody to, respond to yourself about. but you, Landon, you can respond out loud. What have you done in the past 7 days to have fun? Intentionally. What have you intentionally done to have fun in the last 7 days?
Saturday, just ate an edible and walked around and went to different stores and breweries. It's pretty fun.
Okay. So no, that's cool. Most people, they get so focused on life and what they want, they don't go have fun. Almost every A-type personality person that I coach, when they get stuck and they're working towards achieving something, I can almost come back and tell you that they're trying to make it happen instead of allow it to happen. And they're not doing anything to recharge and have fun. They're trying to accomplish it. And their pattern is, I'm going to run hard and get something done until it gets done, and then I'll go have fun. Here's what I found happens for me. Now this is once I know what I want, and I know that it's in that process, like you're talking about, where it's about to come out, if not tomorrow, like in the relative near future, I'm starting to feel that. That is when I've made more money going on vacation. Now, granted, I know we live in a different time right now, but I've made more money every time I've left and gone on vacation than almost any other thing I've ever done. I usually get paid more when I'm on vacation than I do when I'm not. Although my life is more like a vacation nowadays anyway, because it's been since April 2006 that I've worked, full time, so to speak. I usually work 10 to 20 hours a week, and it's been that way for 14 years now. So people say you're already on vacation, but maybe from a work standpoint, but from my mind, I've got to go on vacation too. I've got to take time to let this stuff go and let God do his part. And then trust that if I'm in the middle of doing something and he needs to talk to me for a minute because I have to go take a particular action right now, I trust that I'll receive that inspiration and I'll go do it. I'll go do that thing. And then when I'm done doing that thing, I can go back to vacation. I'll go make the quick phone call. What I don't go do is get sucked up after I make the quick phone call that I'm told to make, or do the email or whatever it is go back to working again. Go back into that vacation mode. But I would just spend the time in your meditation. I would just do what you're doing, just do it more. In the sense of if you're waking up in the morning, like I suggested, 5-15 minutes, and before bed, 5-15 minutes, go find other times during the day to do it also. And your subconscious mind will start agreeing more and more and more. But the other way to do it too is if you're on the edge of receiving it, you're just afraid to take a particular action, then what Enrico Caruso suggested that's actually a pretty good idea too.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments?
Hi, Kevin, it's here. I have a comment. I have been doing the visualization once I wake up for 5 minutes. I'm trying to stretch it out every 10-minute intervals because it's hard sometimes to stay focused, but 5 minutes is doable for me.
Okay.
I can really put my timer on and do it. Once I get to 10, I start drifting. But anywho, I was meditating on my dream husband, has to be wealthy. And in my visualization, I went to bed, and when I woke up, I dreamt about being in Las Vegas at the elope, that we must have been eloped. And this was literally when I woke up before my nap. Before to come on here, I had took a nap. And when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I was in Vegas. We were with the Elvis Presley thing going on. So I don't know if that's coming to my dream because of what I'm visualizing. Is that a step that I'm in the right direction? I need to go to Las Vegas. What is going on?
I don't know if you need to go to Las Vegas to go find the person.
Vicky's laughing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to Vegas? Good.
Yeah. It's just I think it's more representative of what it is that you've been thinking about to some extent. Don't take it as total. unless it feels like this big, like sometimes you wake up from something and you're like, okay, I need to go do whatever, you know, there's this inspiration, like I need to go this direction. Like we literally, I have that happen where it's like, okay, when I wake up, go write this down really quick so you remember it, you know, because this is what you're going to need to go do. Other times it's just enjoyable daydreaming, but probably the reason you had the type of daydream, and I know you're asleep, but because it was closer to the day, not your long, right? It was probably because of what you did earlier.
Okay.
And,
All right.
but that's cool because it's fun. I look at anything, even if it's not, doesn't fit exactly what it is that I was wanting in all detail, anything that's closer to what I wanted than the way things are right now, I look at it as a sign that I'm having more success in impressing on my subconscious mind what it is I really want.
Okay.
So I would look at it as, hey, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
But it's that 5 minutes to 10 minutes that you're using that created that. So go do those instead of doing them necessarily for longer. That's okay. Don't do longer, then go do it 3 times. Go find another 5 minutes somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And do it as many times. I know we, from a realistic standpoint, we're like, well, no, I gotta find time to look.
Mhm.
Make
That's
the time because that's what's going to change your life.
Okay.
And I remember Bob Proctor sharing with me, and the guy had a funny name, so that's why it kind of sticks with me. But this guy was really good at manifesting things that he wanted, and they were talking a little bit about prayer. And Bob, you know, had heard from this person, it's like, wow, it sounds like this person, you know, prays for 30 minutes a day. And then what happened, don't worry about the time. But what Bob found out was, no, what this guy does is the 3 was correct. He actually does it for 30 minutes 3 times a day. Think about Warren Buffett. I'm not saying he sits and does a lot of visualizing, but what Warren Buffett does do that I am aware of is the guy reads for hours a day.
4 a day.
Yeah,
4
hours a day. Yeah, 4 and 5 minutes, you know, 3 and 58, who cares? He reads way more than almost any other human reads in a day. That's not in the middle of studying for law school or to be a doctor or something, right? He's in the material of whatever it is that he's doing. He's learning things, but he's got this program and he's creating what he wants.
He says he reads newspapers
Yeah, but he
for
doesn't
4
read the way
hours a
we-
day.
Yeah, but not the way we do.
No, he
Right.
reads the stuff, the investing stuff. Is like, how can you do that?
Yeah, he reads it.
Audiobooks,
Huh?
do audiobooks count as like
Everything
or-
everything counts, okay? Because everything is a form of input. Our mind will stray more frequently on an audio than a reading for most people. Some people you try and read and it's like, no, it strays also, or you know, just not totally getting into it. But what I will share with you is that is why you can listen to an audio or read a book over again, like you've read it. Why Bob Proctor actually reads Think and Grow Rich. He's read it every day of his life since he was 27. He's now 87. He's not missed a single day other than if he was out of commission, so to speak. Okay. And he's rarely out of commission because he just doesn't get sick because he's programmed himself. So, I mean, it's maybe 2-3 times in his entire life from age 27 to 87 that he has not read that book. Now, it's not strictly that book that did it for him, but he's become that book. There's other books. You could take the same thing with what we're studying here. You could take what we studied last time with, you know, Hidden Treasures. You can go back to Science of Getting Rich if you've been with us that long going through this stuff. You could take a couple handful of those things and you're better off going deep into those than you are going through a bunch of different ones. So why have I not just repeated the same book all the time so far? Why didn't I just take the Science of Getting Rich at the beginning and then say, okay, we're going to repeat it again, and we're going to repeat it again, and repeat it again? Because most of you guys would have quit coming because you want novelty. Because I do too. It's the way.
Do you think too that one thing might resonate with one person and not another?
Yes, if you will do what Bob did. See that there's a difference between, you're right, you will be guided and directed by God and the universe through revelation, inspiration, intuition. When you're on the path of doing things the way we're talking about, you will be on the path and be said, go read this. That's why we're in the book we're in right now. I asked what would be best for this group. And that's what I got is feedback. Okay. Not from you guys, but the other feedback. But
I wanted to ask you that,
Yeah.
Kevin, if you were picking the books with an intentional sequence.
I go one book to the next. I mean, yes, it's all intentional, but I didn't decide a month ago, here's the sequence.
Uh-huh.
I know certain things. I know from a repetition standpoint that most of what I'm talking about, unless you go apply it now and keep applying and applying and applying it, you're going to forget it like everything else you forgot when you went to school. You'll have this level of understanding that you could have a conversation with somebody about it. But Bob doesn't have a conversation. Bob's idea about the book was, and nobody told him to do this, he did it on his own. He found out that Napoleon Hill took 20 years to write the book because he had to interview 500 of the most successful, wealthy people on the planet. And this was back in the time where most people traveled by train or by ship. So his opportunity, he couldn't hop on a plane or anything like that. So it literally took 20 years to do the work to put together Think and Grow Rich. And Bob decided that if Napoleon Hill could take 20 years to put it together, I could at least take a few minutes every day of my life to go over the material. And that served him well. And Bob has a handful of books that are like that. He's read thousands, but he'll say, I read a lot of it for enjoyment, even though they're self-help. But there's really only a handful of books at any given time that he'll read, and he'll usually stay in the same ones. And I know that, Think and Grow Rich is one of those. Science of Getting Rich is another one of those. You can kind of tell which ones they are because you can find out what courses he's creating because they're usually around one of those books that he read. And most of the time those books were public works of some type, meaning they were written a long time ago before he was born and we were born. Not all of them. Once in a great while, a new one will pop up and it'll be good enough that it might hit his list of repetition for he feels the need to keep doing it. But for the most part, he's still reading for his own personal development, the same stuff he was reading for the last 40 plus years. Because they're laws and principles and they don't change. The laws, gravity is not going to change tomorrow and all of a sudden we're going to float off the earth. Something could change to the atmosphere that would cause that, but gravity will exist, right? The laws that govern us receiving money and wealth and manifesting what we want, they're not going to change. So other people might explain it in a way that resonates with us better. Cool. But what's not the best idea is to go get 50 of those and become just a junkie of studying law of attraction. Don't become a law of attraction junkie in studying it. Go use it. Go get what you want. And the best way to do that is, if somebody was going to medical school to learn to be a doctor, they're not going to give them, they're not going to go through the first class, and they're going to say, okay, you went through the first class in this book, let's go do it through another book, let's do it through another, let's do it through another. They're going to stay on the same thing until they get it down pat. You don't want somebody operating on you that's only been through the material one time and now they're moving on to the next technique. But that's how most of us have been taught to learn by the school system. And that's why we don't master anything other than A, B, C, D, right? But we mastered that. We mastered times tables. There's not a lot we mastered while we were in school. Really, truly think about it. How much comes off the tip of your tongue just like that? Very, very little of what you did in elementary. You know what you remember? You remember the kid that was your friend that you played with. Or you remember the kid that was mean to you and popped you in the nose. Okay, that's what you remember because that was an emotional experience that hit you at a subconscious level and immediately became subconscious. But all the other stuff that you learned while you were in school, unless you were truly into that topic and it was something you really loved, you probably didn't even allow it into your subconscious. You learned it long enough to go take your tests so that you can get through class so that you don't have to do it again. And that's the way most people treat learning. But that is not going to change your life. But funny enough, the times tables have kind of
Remember when you,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you remember a couple of sessions back that you talked about the universe does not like empty space or something? I don't
The
remember how you
vacuum.
worded it.
Vacuum.
Doesn't like the vacuum.
Hmm.
You know, I like to reach out to people, so I just love meeting. I meet a lot of different people, but I met one woman and she was into this too, and she was telling me what she did, and it's similar to what you were talking about. She was wanting to get married like Takira, and what she did, she went and bought a pair of trousers and hung them over her bed and emptied half her closet to leave room for his clothes
Uh-huh.
in her closet.
Uh-huh.
So I guess she was telling the universe she was preparing and making room for that person to come into her life.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting. And she said it within a year, she too had gotten married.
Uh-huh. Now, here's what happens a lot of times when we hear a story like this. So we immediately say, I'm going to go do what they did, right? If it's not inspired,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's not inspired, don't do it that way. If it feels, that's when you go do it. If it feels right, that's when you go do it. Now, when something feels right, you may feel ridiculous doing some of those things at first, but if it's intuitive, if it's revelation, inspiration, then go do it because it's going to help you. But if you feel, if you're just doing it because somebody else, because that's the problem we also want to do in the world. We're like, okay, so-and-so did this, I'm going to go do that then too, because that's the result they got. I should get the same result. But their mental programming at that time subconsciously was different than yours when they did it. That's why they got what they got. So I love hearing these types of stories and utilizing, but as you hear stories and you hear of people accomplishing things and receiving things in their life, what you really want to do is look for what resonates with you. You don't want to trust a system that's created by man. You want to trust the laws that were created by God. And then once you learn how to work with those instead of work against them, you'll get the things that you want.
Another question, Kevin.
Yes.
I also visualize the Forbes list.
Uh-huh.
I try to say I'm like the world's, most abundant woman, Black woman, like the first whatever, minority to earn $1 billion. And I just like see myself in the magazine. I have no inspiration though of like what action to take to make that happen. Because being a teacher,
for now.
I don't.
You don't have to know what action for now.
Okay. Just keep thinking of the end result of like my name.
Yep. This one is a little. This sounds to me for you. I know this may, I don't know how it's going to unfold, but here's what I'm kind of feeling right now. I had similar, not for Forbes, okay, but I had similar feelings about certain things, right? But I didn't give it a lot of credence in the sense of I was trying to figure out how to do it. And I didn't even I just had fun with it and saw myself, lived it, enjoyed it, and then kind of let go. And that's where I received the car. That's where I received the plane ride on a private plane. That's where I received, and I actually think it's funny that you do what you're doing, and then you'll turn around someday, like if you've seen the movie The Secret, you'll turn around someday like John Assaraf did when he opened up the box, find his old vision board and find out he actually is now living in the house that he had put on there. And he didn't even know it. It was 5 years, but he literally was living in the house that was on the picture and he had forgotten about it. He spent enough time though, from a law of attraction standpoint, feeling good about it, living in the house, putting out the right vibration, that the message was still out there to the universe. He didn't go negate it. He didn't go, it was just a seed that was planted in fertile soil that on its own kind of grew. And he went and did his thing. And he said he moved 2 or 3 times over the previous 5 years. And when they were unpacking the boxes, he went to show his son the vision board, and then it dawned on him he was living in the house, not one that was like the house, but it was the house. And that's when he goes, now I know how this really works. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about how to get on the Forbes list.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome. All right. I've got some things I need to go do, and we are past time. I hope you folks will come join me again tomorrow, and you have a wonderful day. I appreciate y'all.
Bye, Kevin. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
See you guys. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.